Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Oh, man. I guess these white South Afrikaners could not handle the heat. They are literally going back to Africa. See, now, that's y'all used to run around telling us all the time, go back to Africa. And these are the people you should have said it to. It would have been valid. So, anyway, these folks that came from Africa based on a lie that they were being oppressed and there were all these unalivings and everything going on are now fleeing from America back to Africa. See, if you didn't come here based on a lie, perhaps things would have turned out different. But you fabricated a big old lie and came here to America believing you were going to get, and I know why y'all came. You really thought, based on what Donald Trump said, Donald Trump, a 34 convicted felon, that's who you trusted. Oh, well, I guess it is what it is. And you came over here, and let's be real, y'all thought y'all were going to get some kind of preferential treatment. You really did. That's why you left based on a lie. And you got over here, and that special treatment just wasn't there. But I tell you what, you still got something out of it. You got what, $2,000 out of this government per month? They don't even do that for us. But as you can see, because America is a very expensive place to live, that didn't go very far. And many of you got stuck in hotels and you couldn't even buy food after the hotel bill was paid. Many of you got apartments, and after paying the rent, you didn't have much money left over. So you got a real taste of what America truly is. And it's not just for you, it's for all immigrants. I see many videos of immigrants that are barely making it because the cost of living is high here. It's high. And I've come across many videos of African immigrants that are in shelters, homeless shelters, because they don't have the income to even afford an apartment. So, and yeah, and you know what the thing is? Many of you foreigners be lying, saying that you're doing better than Black Americans, which is false. You're not. You're not. Mm-mm. You're not. Nor have you ever came over here and did better than us. But that's the narrative you put out there. And many of us know that narrative is false. Y'all don't even get the best paying jobs over here. I'm very observant to when I see y'all in jobs and you're not in the top paying jobs. And many of you that do have good paying jobs, somebody better look at your credentials, because many of you, and it's not just Nigeria, y'all, these Ghanaians and these people from other parts of Africa, they come over here with fake credentials too. It's just that Nigeria gets mentioned a lot more because it's really they're the bulk of the fraud when it comes down to these fake credentials. But as you can see, many of these Somalians are lying and scamming. And then you have people from really all over. It's not just them. Some of these people from Cameroon and from the Gold Coast and West Africa, a lot of them are scamming. A lot of them. So when they got these big positions, you better look at their credentials because it's not just the nurses, y'all. Even these doctors are a lot of fraud. Many of them are frauds, which is very dangerous. You are in healthcare. You can mess up or even take a life, being that you don't have the right credentials to be there. So they're literally putting all of us in danger. But yeah, they're already on flights going back to South Africa, y'all. Already on flights leaving. And see, that's what you get for lying in order to get into another country. When Donald Trump was lying and your president from South Africa was trying to tell him over and over, nobody was harming y'all over in Africa like that, none of you that were over here stood up and said, you know what? Our president from South Africa is telling the truth. None of y'all from South Africa debunked Donald Trump. None of you did. None of you Afrikaners debunked Donald Trump when he was straight up lying, showing these fraudulent pictures. And a lot of those pictures they said were from the Congo and other parts of Africa. Nobody stood up to tell the truth. Nobody. And now you're on your way back to Africa. I say, good, go home. Go to hell home. Go home. And just know life is not a fairy tale. Just because you relocate somewhere else, it doesn't mean life is going to be easier. And many of you foreigners are learning that lesson because I'm watching the videos. I'm watching the videos of y'all talking about how hard you're struggling over here paying for stuff. If it's hard for American citizens, you best believe it's hard for you foreigners. There's no way you're sailing through life. And look at the Somalians. They had to scam in order to make it. 90% of them are on public assistance. Yeah, they're making it because they're scamming. That's how they're making it. They're scamming. How can 90% of you not be working and on public assistance? And you are appearing not to be struggling at all. Yeah, that's because y'all were passing around that scam money. The majority of you, I believe, was living off of that scam money. And you're trying to put this, oh, it's just a few people. No, it was more than a few people if 90% of you are on assistance, getting food stamps, Section 8. No, it was more than a few people getting all that money. It would not make sense if it was not the majority of you. And see, when you come over here and you're on assistance, and then these people are online arguing with us. Oh, we're smarter than you. We're better than you. You have never been smarter, nor have you been better. And all this stuff about scamming coming out, and then got the audacity on top of all the scamming, demanding reparations. What a joke. What a joke. But aren't we like one day away from y'all losing your TPS protection? I believe it's tomorrow, the 17th. So It just goes to show you the same with the South Afrikaners. They did not contribute to society, they took away. If you couldn't make it here, then you could not have said, you can't be saying you made a contribution while you were over here. You didn't. You didn't. You pretty much just took $2,000 and then eventually boarded a plane, 2,000 a month, and then eventually you boarded a plane back home. That's not a contribution at all. But see, all of you trying to fight us and run your mouth to us, your day is coming. It's not going to just be these white South Afrikaners. The rest of you, your day is coming. Your day is coming. You know, Donald Trump is going to be throwing you out throughout his entire presidency. You're going to be rounded up and thrown out of here. So they're not alone in going back home. They're not alone. You know, these people, they had it good in South Africa. They did. They sure were living better than the melanated population there. They absolutely have been living way better. And the wealth gap is even worse than it is here in America, in South Africa. You know, these people are butt sore because their glory days are over. See, when apartheid was going on, oh, see, they were living high on the hog then. Okay, they had the jobs, they had the money, they had the homes, they had everything. And see, now that the melanated ones are trying to retrieve their stuff back now, that's oppression. Giving back what you stole is oppression. See, that's why things did not turn out right for you here. And I saw some videos of some of our people that encountered them, and they didn't have nothing good to say about them at all. Said they were nasty. See, nothing good is going to come your way going to another land and being nasty. Nothing good is going to come your way. No wonder why you're on your way out. Good, you can't leave fast enough as far as I'm concerned. And just think, y'all, Donald Trump shut out every single group from coming in here except for these white South Afrikaners. And you can tell things did not turn out well. You notice how fast Donald Trump stopped talking about them? Even he realized it was not turning out well like he thought. So much for all that superior talk. You sure weren't superior over here at all. But you notice, see, when Donald Trump stopped talking about you, you know it's bad. You know things are not turning out well. See, he went from boasting about getting you over here to not talking about you at all. That said it all right there. I knew instantly that things weren't going so well because he wouldn't even acknowledge or speak about y'all anymore. So, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you. Shouldn't have lied in the first place about your circumstances. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Maybe they put them in the wrong place, y'all. Perhaps the trailer park would have been more appropriate for them.
Remember at war or being destroyed, usually by the United States or by Europe, You're going to see a lot of people returning to the countries that they came from.
Do you guys remember in May of last year when Donald Trump announced that he was going to be bringing in white South Africans as refugees? Because he loudly claimed in front of South Africa's president and his white cabinet members that white people in South Africa were being genocided. In case you don't remember, here is a short clip of somebody in Trump's administration welcoming the South Africans, the white South Africans, and saying that they have good seeds which will grow in the United States.
Over the years, and I am sure that you will be successful. It's, as you know, a lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom, they will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children. And then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming.
It's really unnerving to hear MAGA men talk about the seeds of growth or whatever he was babbling about. But yeah, anyway, white South Africans were like the only group that Donald Trump wanted to allow to legally come to the United States. And apparently they're all leaving. Thousands of white South Africans repatriate as U.S. safety fears grow. Thousands of white South Africans are returning home after years abroad, reversing a long-standing trend of immigration. Many are reclaiming citizenship through a government portal launched after the repeal of a 1995 law that had stripped citizenship from some expatriates. Part of the migration story is shaped by the United States. The Trump administration launched a program offering refuge to white South Africans, particularly Afrikaners, citing concerns over crime and alleged persecution, claims that South African authorities deny. While some took advantage of the U.S. program, growing worries about mass shootings, immigration enforcement, and political instability in the U.S. have prompted many to reconsider and return home. Improvements in infrastructure like the near end of daily power outages and enhanced private security have boosted confidence among those moving back. Analysts say the trend reflects both practical and economic considerations. Remote work has made it easier for professionals to live in South Africa while keeping jobs abroad. Many see South Africa as offering a safer, more affordable, and more stable environment than some countries they have lived in, including the United States. So obviously Donald Trump is not to blame for mass shootings or the healthcare issues of the United States. He's not solely to blame. But the U.S. has some serious systemic issues, and anybody coming here as a refugee from a relatively safe country like South Africa will quickly realize, like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Reuters did a whole article on this too, and here's a clip from Reuters talking about people that have lived in the U.S. for decades and who decided, yeah, screw this, I'm moving back to South Africa.
Naomi Sapphire was born in South Africa and lived for 2 decades in the United States. She came back home for a holiday and realized how much she missed this place.
You cannot dictate what makes your heart happy. So you leave and then you come back because ultimately this is home.
Last year, Sapphire left North Carolina for a seaside town in South Africa's Western Cape. Now, she says her 3 children spend more time outdoors, health insurance is affordable, and she prefers the schools. She's among thousands of white South Africans coming back from abroad, despite U.S. President Donald Trump's statements that South Africa's white minority is being persecuted by the country's black majority government.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa.
The Trump administration is ramping up its new refugee program for white South Africans, focusing on Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers, such as Sapphire and her family. About 3,500 South Africans have entered the United States as refugees since the program started in May 2025. Pretoria says there is no evidence of discrimination or persecution against whites. Many white South Africans and Afrikaners have welcomed Trump's support, but insisted they nevertheless want to remain in their country. And others who left decades ago are now returning. Anton van Heerden is an employment agent who has been trying to help returnees keep their jobs abroad by shifting to remote work. He said inquiries from white South Africans seeking to return had jumped 70% in the past 6 months.
We have also asked these people why they're coming back, and we got a lot of different reasons. The obvious ones would be whether family, friends, the vibe in South Africa, but also things like costs of living and living standards are considered to be very high in South Africa.
For Naomi and her husband, Danny, they're happy with their choice.
Some of the metrics that we use to decide like whether or not this is our permanent place is education, cost of living, how much we're enjoying the place. And so far, that's ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, the only immigrants that Trump wants are white people from countries that have universal health care and better schools, and they're relatively safer than the United States. But none of those people want to be here for obvious reasons. It's just another hilarious saga in Trump's failures. Like, he genuinely thought that South Africans were going to be like clamoring over each other to get to the United States. Hilarious and stupid.
Reuters just dropped an article talking about how they interviewed some white South Africans that are ready to leave America and head back to South Africa. This update is especially hilarious to me because you may remember that around this time last year, Trump kicked off that mass deportation campaign, and he was offering as many white South Africans that he could asylum to immigrate to America due to racist persecution in South Africa, all while in the same breath ordering immigration agents to lock up as many of the Black and brown immigrants that they could find. Well, apparently the mass shootings, the mass deportation campaign, and the new addition of mass-scale inflation has the so-called white prosecution in South Africa looking way more attractive than white supremacist fascism in America to white South Africans. Not really a story to keep your eye on, but it definitely made me laugh. Shoot me a follow for more stories like this.
Breaking news, thousands of white South African expats, they have started returning back home. This is according to Reuters. Mind you, some of these people, they denounce their own country. They denounce South Africa. And they stated that they don't want to be involved with South Africa or even be South African. So these people, they moved to Europe, they went to USA, and they became the citizen of USA or even Europe. But later on, more than 1,000 white South Africans, they reinstated their citizenship. They want to be South African again. This is a move of what is called reverse migration. So some of these people, they're moving from USA all the way to South Africa. So some of these experts, they were asked, like, why would you leave USA, the country that everyone want to go to, and go back to South Africa and even reinstate your citizenship and become a South African again? Why would you want to do that? And some of these people, they said going to USA is not what they were expecting. There is a lot of crimes. So children, they cannot just play outside without supervision. And also everything is very expensive and there is no good quality of life. But in South Africa, it's opposite. They're saying that their children, they are able to go and pray outside. It is even better than USA.
Oh my gosh, man. Y'all heard about that shit, right? The white South Afrikaners returning back to Africa. This stupid fuck. These motherfucking ungrateful fucks, man. They returning back to Africa. They say America is too expensive and it's 2 days. They don't want to be in a place where they shoot niggas in broad daylight. The bills is catching up to them. God damn, the lifestyle ain't their lifestyle, but they say nobody should be living this life in America. This shit is too crazy. It's too evil. It's too expensive. Dumb niggas, we told you this shit. You didn't want to listen to us. You want to go with this fake ass Donald Trump propaganda. We told you America is the best liar in the world. They lie. Call Africa poor. If Africa is so poor, what the fuck are you doing there? Why are you in Africa if it's so poor? If Asia is so poor, what are you doing there? This shit don't make no sense at all. Why are you giving these niggas aid if they're poor and then expecting something back in return? They're poor. This is what you say, right? But now y'all want to go back to Africa. Y'all want to go back to a place where y'all actually have real freedom, where things are cheaper, where life is actually lived correctly, slowly. Not here where life is lived fast. You can get shot on broad daylight. Everything is expensive than it should be. You want to go back now. Look at yourself.
You guys want to hear something super embarrassing for us? The Trump administration has closed refugee processing for refugees from all around the world, except for white South Africans, Afrikaners, who he says were experiencing a white genocide in South Africa. So he opened the doors to these refugees from South Africa. And now over 1,000 of them are repatriating to South Africa because they hate it here so much in Trump's America. they don't even want to stay. It turns out they actually don't need protections. I mean, we could have told them that. And also, what an embarrassment. What a joke.
The only people Trump let in as refugees are now fleeing America because of him. Do you remember when Trump granted refugee status to white South Africans called Afrikaners because he claimed that they were facing racial genocide by black South Africans? Well, now those same people are deciding to flee the United States to go back to South Africa because they think Trump's America is too expensive and too violent. Like Andrew Vitch, who originally left South Africa after being held up at gunpoint in his car, but now he feels that America is far more violent. Quote, people are being shot in broad daylight. American citizens are being shot and killed. I don't want to live in a place like this. Or Benjamin Schoenwinkel, a 59-year-old Afrikaner who flew to America after Trump's announcement. But when he landed here seeking asylum, he was arrested and sent to a detention facility in Georgia. In total, more than 12,000 South African expatriates have checked their eligibility to return home since November, a 70% increase in 6 months, and more than 1,000 people have already reclaimed their citizenship, citing political turmoil and increased cost of living in the US. So after Trump and Stephen Miller spent months trying to build this political narrative about saving Afrikaners from white genocide, those same people are fleeing America to get away from the problems created by Trump.
Thousands of white South Africans are returning to South Africa after learning that life in America is way worse. Yeah, no shit, we tried to tell you. So there are a couple of things here. First, just there is no white genocide in South Africa. You're not persecuted for your race. Yes, I'm from the United States. Therefore, I did not fall into the bucket of people who are being persecuted, which are Afrikaner farmers. But there is way more white privilege here than even in the United States, I would say. But secondly, what you're seeing is that even white foreigners are finding that they're facing violence and potential discrimination in the United States, which is also what we said would happen. People who are focusing on the violence as only a problem that affected Black and brown people are now realizing that no, it affects you too. Eventually, what affects the minority will also affect the majority. And I'm talking about majority in terms of finances and power. It's interesting because some of these people who are returning to South Africa, they mentioned that they left South Africa because of the crime, but now they're leaving the US because of the crime. Because crime in the US has actually been going down overall in terms of people on people crime, but what is increasing is crime committed by the government. Who is responsible for the majority of the detentions, disappearings, the now killings? Our government, not the people. There are so many points that I could make with this video, but I'm getting a little bit stuck. So one is that I spend a lot of time this side educating people about what's happening in the United States, mainly so as to decenter the US from their narrative of success and aspiration. And I think a lot has changed over the last 2 years so that more people realize what's happening in the United States and the fact that they should not be putting it on a pedestal, but there's still a lot that needs to be exposed. The next thing is that it is really important, especially this day and age, as we hopefully move towards a global revolution, to realize that you have to focus on what's happening to the people at the bottom and realize that what happens to them will happen to you. You need to fight for everyone.
A huge shout out to my friend Tabitha. I fucking love her. I don't know if I can tag her. I think she has all that stuff off because it drives you crazy when you get so many tags. And she did a story this morning about the Afrikaners who Trump brought over here because of the Christian persecution in Africa. And they were coming here because it was going to be a better life for them. So this is from Reuters. Trump says white South Africans are persecuted. Some are returning to a better life. Andrew whatever left South Africa after being held at gunpoint in his car. He now feels that the greater threat's the United States. He said, citing mass shootings in public places, as well as violence by U.S. immigration officers. People are being shot in broad daylight. American citizens are being shot and killed, said the 53-year-old who moved to California in 2003. I don't want to live in a place like this. Then there's this lady. She had been settled in the United States for 2 decades when she came back for a holiday and realized how much she missed home. Last year, she left North Carolina for a seaside town in South Africa's Western Cape when she said her 3 children spend more time outdoors, health insurance is affordable, and she prefers the schools. My heart is full of gratitude to be here, the 46-year-old said from her home. The U.S. has been really good to me, but it just felt like I was depriving my kids of this life. But the big story here, my friends, is that the reports show that attacks on Christians is not real, but there's a willingness to tackle the issue. Christians are being spat on, they're being attacked. It's actually really bad to be a Christian in Israel. The incidents were able to track barely scratch the surface of what happens. We do not doubt that there are many more cases that we do not know of. And now I know that hell is frozen over, but here's Joe Rogan and John Kiriakou.
We're not talking about the West Bank, right? Where just 2 weeks ago, a Christian village ceased to exist because settlers from New Jersey took all their houses. You know, what happens next?
South Africa, they get refugee status.
White South Africans that were pretty much the only people Donald Trump has let into the country since his administration took over are returning home. They came to the United States because they said they were being persecuted in their home country, and now they're going back because they say nobody is meant to live the way you have to live in the United States. It's too expensive and it's too violent. They say, look, we're leaving the U.S. to return home because I don't want to live in a place like this. That article goes on to claim that they didn't want to live in places where people are getting shot in broad daylight and where things cost 10 times more than they should. See, for the people in the U.S., these things are normal, but for the rest of the world, it's not. We are not a safe country. We are not the greatest country in the world, and we're not a country that actually takes care of its citizens. So these white South Africans that came here because they were persecuted, that Donald Trump welcomed to fanfare, are now going home because things were better there than they are in the United States.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I would love to know how Donald Trump feels. You brought these people over here and now they are fleeing to go back home. Talk about somebody looking like a straight up clown. Donald Trump, you look like a clown. And these folks, you know, why y'all came over here? Because you listened to Elon, you listened to Donald Trump. Y'all played like you were oppressed. Elon was all over X talking about how oppressed y'all were and y'all were getting persecuted over there. Okay, I don't even see him doing that mess anymore. And he would be stupid for doing that. You know, people really should be dragging Elon because he spent the last few years posting all this white South African oppression and all they're being unalived over there. He was doing that for the last several years. And now, if it was that bad, Elon, for them, how come they're going home? You should be dragged over that. And Donald Trump, now Donald Trump ain't going to talk about this. I'm sure behind the scenes he don't like it because these white South Afrikaners are making a liar out of Donald Trump by going back. See, going back tells you it really wasn't bad for them in the first place. So all that, they're being persecuted. We're trying to be genocided over there. Yeah, so they're running back to genocide, huh, Donald Trump? Huh, Elon? They're running back to genocide? See, you know why this whole thing didn't work? Because you all were lying. These white South Afrikaners were lying about their condition over there. Donald Trump lied and Elon lied. That's why this whole thing didn't work. Everybody was lying that was involved in it. That's why it didn't work. Now you all look like fools. And guess what? I don't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for you one bit. So, y'all, this now officially kills the talk about them being genocided because you would never run back to genocide if that was really, truly going on. You wouldn't be going back to it. So it is now officially dead. Elon, Donald Trump, and white South Afrikaners. That claim is now completely dead. Mm-hmm. So nobody can make that claim anymore. So y'all, RLI, thank you so much for the super chat and support for my channel. They went into South Africa and stole everything and only got mad and claimed to be victims when the government started making them give it back. Exactly. Exactly. See, these are the ones that wish, the ones that came over here, these are the ones that were wishing for a return of apartheid. That's the kind of people that came over here. And I'm sure they also didn't like how we're way different than those South Africans. They are a lot more docile than we are. And I'm sure they observed that and didn't like it. You know, they want to be in a domineering position when it comes down to melanated people. Well, y'all, you would have had a run for your money if you would have tried to pull even a fraction of that off in America. Yeah, you would have been running out of here a lot sooner. Mm-hmm. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. And as for you South Africans going home, don't let the door hit you. That's all I got to say. Shalom, family.